Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar. How's it all going, ladies and gentlemen? I got a bit of a video here to talk about today. I didn't just want to talk about something that I found to be quite goofy. So, I almost had to show my entire ass cheek entirely on YouTube. If I had promised on that last GTA video like 2 days ago, where the heck is that new Rockstar Games trailer? If I had said, man, if Rockstar's gonna release something, I'm gonna show my ass. Thankfully, I did manage to not fully commit to that. And Rockstar didn't actually release a trailer. They released, I guess you could say, a trailer of the next trailer. We're getting to some trailerception, boys. Now, obviously, I think you all know the goofiest thing that we've seen so far. Grand Theft Auto 6 is an extended look provided to us end of this month by Netflix. Da-dang! Like the little Netflix. Da-dang! Ladies and gentlemen, we've gotten to some crazy shit. Now, again, I'm not here to like rip on Rockstar here for this too. Again, they've kind of done like short movies in the past with things like Red Dead Redemption. My brother was actually telling me, listen, you got to keep your expectations really low, and I agree. My brother said they're probably going to release like a 30-minute machinima video, like they did with GTA San Andreas with like the, the introduction. So we might not even see gameplay, but I'm going to believe that when you say an extended look, that probably means you get gameplay. Now, there's been a lot of people who are wondering, whoa, are they paywalling a trailer now? I mean, technically, yeah, it's going to be exclusive to Netflix for like 6 hours. I don't know how much Netflix paid Rockstar to do that, but I guess it must have been a bag for 5-second exclusivity. Because, ladies and gentlemen, from what I hear, streamers are allowed to talk about this. I might even stream this night and showcase this. Actually, it comes out at 3 p.m. Eastern. So I guess I can probably just talk about it while it's happening. I don't know why Netflix would pay for a fucking, gameplay trailer, but that's where the state of gaming is right now, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, I think, and look, I love Grand Theft Auto, I love Rockstar Games, but, I think some of the worst effects of modern gaming are happening with this game. I mean, look, GTA Online just had, the worst heist nerf that I've ever seen, to the point where this company has shown, an insane level of greed so bad that I can only imagine what the next iteration of GTA Online is gonna do. I'm fully expecting fucking GTA 6 to have, shark cards in the single player, okay? Oh, you can't afford that new set of nails, Lucia? Better pony up mommy's credit card, So I'm fully expecting this shit. I understand this is probably the future of it. You're talking about a game that doesn't even give a physical disc anymore. But, that's small potatoes compared to what I'm about to talk. So earlier today, Take-Two CEO actually had what they call the investor call. So again, this is a Take-Two call that they have with the investors, the people they actually care about. They don't give a fuck about the gamers, let's be real. Me and you are not paying their bills as compared to the investors that are just pumping in billions of dollars into these companies. So they actually had a presentation, and in this presentation, I think I've heard some of the worst things that I probably could have expected. So ultimately, let's read a transcript from this. Now, this comes from the CEO, Strauss Zelnick, okay? This is not some rinky-dinky nobody guy, but he talks a lot about hardware, right? So the rising cost of computers ain't a good thing, and we shouldn't argue that it is. So obviously, I agree with him there. Good job. So he says, going forward, look, two things I think are relevant. Probably the most relevant thing in the world comes down to the move to open systems. And that will continue. So 20 years ago, when we showed up at Take-Two, on a console release that was available on PC at launch, PC would represent 1 to 2% of the overall sales. So effectively, 20 years ago, when they dropped something on the PlayStation 2, the PC community was so small that it was like the Linux community, okay? I'm a Linux guy, but ain't no fucking way I'm gonna ever get into the delusion that companies are gonna throw money at us because we are so small. But now that's 40 to 50%. That's crazy. PC has jumped up to half. And I believe that's going to go because people have PCs, they have outboard controllers, and they work as great game machines. So he's pretty much saying, yeah, PC's pretty much there. Now, I read this and I think, why the fuck aren't you dropping the game on PC? Probably wasn't their plan. But I think hearing that from the CEO, shit, he might drop this game maybe in less than a year. I don't know. Maybe by the end of the year or the beginning of next year, Rockstar might be a bit quicker and release that PC version, okay? But this is where it gets really disgusting, and I actually have a lot of disdain for what he's saying. So he says number 2, with streaming. Now remember, this is game streaming, okay? So you remember like all that Google Stadia shit, the Amazon Luna? Oh man, it's easy. I'll just get like a really small, thin client like my phone, and then I'll just connect to the Xbox network and stream games here. Maybe I'll attach a little controller and just kind of play it like a fucking N-Gage. But yeah, that's obviously game streaming is not really all that great, okay? Honestly, as an option, I'm not somebody that is against it, okay? Like, if you're somebody that, shit, do I really want to download a 200 gigabyte fucking Call of Duty game or maybe just stream the campaign? I would totally be okay if you decided, yeah, I'll load up the game stream version and just play through. It's not going to be great. There's going to be some input lag. But at the end of the day, like, hey, it's better than downloading 200 gigs for a game that probably lasts less than like 3 hours. Anyways, so he believes it's around the corner in terms of having something that's low latency. So meaning that latency that we just talked about, I guess that wouldn't exist. I don't understand how that would work from like a physics standpoint, but Strauss Zelnick, I guess, really is on the hopium, okay? Machines that weren't game machines before will become game machines. So everything is a fucking gaming. Your toaster, as long as it can stream video and connect to a controller via Bluetooth, shit, you can play GTA 6 on that through the cloud. So without regards to what happens in the console business, which is a consequence to us, of course, we see the overall base as a practical matter growing materially. And if you believe in streaming, and to be clear, we really do, and I'm happy to put a timeline on it, I think we'll be commercial mode within 3 years. And by commercial, he means that low latency streaming crap. I mean that we can 10x the effective installed base. Man, the last time I heard 10x is like from the crypto bros. You know, Muda, why are you investing money into property and stuff? Why don't you buy NFTs? It's gonna 10x. Yeah, let's see your portfolio today, pal. Let's see let's see how 10x we're doing now, aren't we? Anyways, now it doesn't mean that we're 10x our revenue, and we wouldn't project that we would. But because obviously your avid consumers already have access to video game machines. So one thing that I find really disgusting about this statement is the entire gaming industry has already basically said, we don't really give a shit about you owning physical content anymore, okay? Like, physical media is not something that game companies are actually okay with. And they're not, because obviously if you look at things like the PlayStation, if you look at things like the Xbox, if you look at, just any system in general, I mean, how much physical media really exists anymore, right? Like, PlayStation is kind of out. Nintendo Switch games that you buy, for the most part, are kind of still game key cards. Like, you might get kind of lucky with, like, an Indiana Jones release or something officially Nintendo or Cyberpunk where the whole thing is on a cart. With Xbox, I mean, their actual games don't even show up on the fucking disc. So at the end of the day, right, like, that kind of fight has been lost. At this point, the digital stuff that we download, that's really the last fight, to fight against, predatory DRM, to fucking actually, own the licenses we purchase. So companies can't just yoink that away from us. The issue with cloud streaming, obviously, as you can imagine, is you don't even have the digital download, man. Like, what the fuck? So when he talks about low latency shit, remember, he's talking about stuff like NVIDIA's GeForce Now, which is the ability for somebody to connect their Steam accounts, Epic accounts, whatever accounts, to NVIDIA service, and for a monthly fee, you can rent your gaming computer, okay? Can't afford a gaming computer? Oh, you can just fucking rent it. We live in the day and age where data centers have basically priced the fuck out of the average person out. Look, I'm not somebody that wants to, like, go into the super conspiracy theories, but I'm against data centers, not because of the, there's a lot of misinformation surrounding them, but if it's one concrete thing you have to be against data centers for, is the ability for them to do mass surveillance. Obviously, we talked a lot about the flock cameras, in the last few weeks. These are cameras that exist all around the country, basically taking a photo of your vehicle, seeing where you go from point A to point B, and using artificial intelligence, they can obviously pinpoint exactly where the fuck you go at any given point. Now, obviously, a lot of these, intelligences that the government or any of these organizations use obviously require data centers to operate. I think that when we give up our communities so that these data centers can come in, basically really not provide much opportunities and jobs to us, and now, all of a sudden, mass surveillance is going up, all the extra bullshit that we don't care about is going up, simply because a few people in the world want to get massively fucking rich. That's one of the reasons I'm against a lot of these kind of technologies. But obviously, at the end of the day, look, if you want to fight against this, all you got to do is talk to, I don't know, I would say talk to a representative, but to be honest with you, a lot of this like destruction of our civil stuff is mostly because of both sides just kind of agreeing on this. It's kind of crazy when you really look into it. But hey, data centers, a lot of this stuff chiefly have raised the price of every single component that we buy. Because ultimately, look, if you're going to be somebody that sells memory, graphics cards, hard drives, you know, the average people will be willing to pay, say, $200. And then the AI data center companies come in and they're like, shit, we'll buy it for like $300, $400. Sometimes they don't even buy it at all. They just give you a shiny IOU, and then we're all fucking screwed simply because these guys get the first dibs in this entire process. You know, it's actually cheaper for me to go out to QuakeCon in Texas. Literally, like, I could probably reach the last day and purchase an RTX 5090 at MSRP. MSRP prices are actually around 3,000 to 2,900 Canadian. But again, the actual fucking price, the real price, is like $6,200. Why? Because the memory and the components, the actual card itself, usually just gets bought up by, again, the data center people. Not this specific card, but obviously the components used to build it. It's obviously better for NVIDIA to make data center versions of these cards as opposed to like the regular person version, right? So our favorite hobby effectively jumps up in price because it's not just the GPU that you're buying. I mean, that GPU, which is an enthusiast grade, yes, it's also $6,400. I remember like years ago when I first started this channel, one of the most like salivating computers that I envied over was something that Total Biscuit had, God rest his soul. He had like I think it was like a triple Titan rig back then. The GTX Titan was like, I think the first $1,000 graphics card. I was like, man, I'm never going to be able to fucking buy one of these cards, right, at the time. Now it's crazy to think that I guess the Titan equivalent is like $6 fucking grand. Like, that's how much it's jumped. Memory alone, you know, you're looking at 32 gig sticks of 6,000 megahertz rating at $700, okay? So it's not a good situation all around. And I think ultimately, at the end of the day, look, long story short, for a lot of people that just really don't have the money to game, right? Like build a gaming computer or even a console, the rental option is what a lot of these companies, I think, are okay with pushing, right? Because why would you pay $6,000 for an RTX 5090 when you can get access to a 5080 for $26 a month? And again, you can game for up to 8 hours. That's more than anybody would ever need in reality land, man. But the thing is, you never own your shit. You don't even own your hardware. And now these gaming companies are kind of okay with selling you a license that you don't even have access to, say, download the files. I really think when it comes to things like Grand Theft Auto 6, it is by far pushing some of the worst practices in gaming history, right? The presence of greed in the online where they just want you to keep buying microtransactions. Hey, you don't have access to even the fucking game anymore. This is a game that I'm sure is sold more than GTA 5 at launch just in pre-orders. And that means that they basically sold the largest rental game in the market. Because you can't buy it. You can't buy it physically for PlayStation 5 or Xbox. You kind of are just sitting with digital rented access. And even if the PC version is digital, at least there, you technically can download the game, and then somebody will end up cracking it, meaning that at least in that instance, you have a version of the game that you can save to a Blu-ray drive, Blu-ray disc, you know, put a little nice label on it, put it away in a safe, and then you actually have like a physical copy of Grand Theft Auto 6 that isn't locked to DRM, and that down the road, you can run on any computer that you wanted, right? But the future of what Strauss Zelnick is talking about is, by the time GTA 7 drops, or Red Dead Redemption 3, or if they make another IP or something, I mean, God, what if they make a Manhunt 3 for crying out loud? The future of it is, hey, listen, right now, we took away your physical. You had the digital, but what happens when they think, okay, maybe fuck the digital, right? Let's just stick to the cloud option. Because what he's saying isn't outlandish, right? Gaming computers are expensive. And that next PlayStation 6 that's going to drop, that next Xbox Helix or whatever, they are not going to be, I imagine they're not going to be less than $1,000, right? And at $1,000, That's a hard sell for anybody, bro. Like a ball and gun gamer is not going to look at a fucking PlayStation 6 for like $1,000, maybe even more, and think, yeah, I think I'll upgrade to that. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, when things are that expensive, it doesn't even matter if you're gaming on PlayStation or PC. It's just too expensive to get into. And I think really the future of it is, if we don't even get to own the hardware, a lot of these companies are just going to say, hey, here's like a thin client, here's like a $200 box, like a PlayStation Portal. You press your power button, you log into your PlayStation account, you pay us a subscription fee to use our service because cloud gaming ain't cheap. And then all you have to do is just fire up your system, it connects, maybe it has like a little launcher app. As soon as you fire up like Grand Theft Auto 6, it loads the game up from the cloud, and you think it's all great. But in the end of the day, you literally are just paying for cloud access to a video game in the future. Sure, they might still look as good as games nowadays because they'll be using high-end stuff in the data centers, right? It's similar to how I make virtual machines for gaming computers, right? Like there was a video I made where I took my RTX 4090 and I split the actual power of it and I shared it between virtual machines. It's how me and my wife fucking played Elden Ring seamless co-op together. She didn't have a computer for it. I was like, oh, I have a 4090, babe. I'll just split up the GPU. You can have the one VM, I'll take the other VM. We'll play together, right? That's kind of how cloud streaming works. It's like a mini data center that I kind of did in my house. The future is because these GPUs and these systems are going to be so expensive, they're going to start billing you and selling you, hey, listen, here's a small little cheap box. Hey, it's even environmentally friendly because it uses less power or whatever the fuck. And they'll just tell you, hey, you can use that to connect to the service and play games. And hey, you'll never have to buy a new console again because the thin console is all that matters. They might try to placate people by saying, hey, here's like a $1,500 actual big boy gaming box that you might be able to download games to. But remember, this generation started with 2 consoles of a PlayStation 5, the physical and the digital. And that was kind of the start of them conditioning you into thinking, hey, listen, digital's kind of a great option. And look where we are by the end. Physical's dead, digital's where it's at. Who knows, man? In fucking 10 years, digital might be completely out and it might exclusively just be the cloud. You wouldn't even have the option to get access to your files and preserve them down the road. You're literally just buying digital licenses that you can only access at the behest of the data center. I mean, I'll be real with you, man. The more and more that GTA's marketing is happening, the worse it's getting for me as a fan because I'm just seeing the worst of modern gaming. Anyways, let me know what you think. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.